Hello, friends of HIP Realty Group. My name is Kirk Weisler. I am also a friend of HIP Realty and Tammy Slay and her team. I've known them for many years, worked with them before, and recently received a gift package from them. It had a copy of one of my books in it, The Dog Poop Initiative, the number one book for dealing with the number two problem in your organization or community. So you've got the book. I don't need to tell you what the book says, but Tammy asked if I might share the story behind the story. So I'll attempt to do that briefly here and tell you why you have this book and why I think a lot of the HIP Realty Group and why I hope that you'll cultivate a relationship with them as well. So they put this book in their required reading for new hires. They have established very meaningful, deliberate, and intentional team culture for their tribe. There's a certain set of books they all read, a philosophy they all agree and buy into, and a way they try to represent themselves in the community as they go about their work. And they walk that talk, which is very admirable. They take the initiative to do weird and wonderful things that most of their peers and professionals don't do. The package you have in front of you is one of those unique ways and initiatives they take to build relationships and to say, you know what, we're different. And we'd like to have a relationship with you, show you why and how we can serve you. So the dog poop initiative and the story behind the story. Um, this little book was inspired by a true experience. My wife Rebecca and I have 6 children, and this story was years ago. So the 25-year-old was only 5 years old, Joshua, and my wife is British, so that means our kids have an obligation, by virtue of their DNA, that they need to play soccer, whether they want to or not. And so Josh was involved in a little soccer group, and I was the assistant coach dad. Um, Not being British, I didn't have the qualifications to be a good coach, but I could be an assistant coach. So my job was to show up with the blue Gatorade and help keep the kids corralled during, before, and after the games. So we showed up one Saturday. We had a game. We were the third set of teams assigned to a field that day, and there was already 2 games before us and 4 teams for those two teams each for those 2 games. And so I'm now watching the last 10 minutes of it, the game before ours. And the parents and the adults watching their kids play get my attention. They say, "Hey, you on the field next?" And I said, "Yeah." And then they point to the field and they point out a large pile of dog poop on the field. And I look at it and they go, "Yeah, look, you'll need to tell your kids to watch out for that." And with a great deal of drama and emphasis, they serve me in this way to let me know that the poop is there. And as I thank them for this, and I kind of begin to think, did that just happen? Did an adult just point out to another adult where a pile of poop was so they could avoid it? As I'm processing that, an adult just a little few feet away who didn't see me get the warning gave me the exact same warning. This was the community service announcement that they were passing along, making sure everybody knew where the poop was so it could be avoided, hopefully. So I was like, wow. I already knew I had to clean it up because I knew that my child would step in it. So, but before that happened, Coach Coleman shows up. He's the real coach for our team. He got the same 2 warnings I got. After each one, he looked at me like, "Did that just happen?" And it just did. But no, no. Listen, this gets even more. This even gets more surreal. So we already, without having a discussion, right? There's no discussion. We know when their game ends, we're going to get our kids doing their warm up drills. While they start their warm up drills, we're going to go over and clean up the poop. There's no plan. This is just what we're going to do. But that doesn't happen yet. We step onto the field. So coach, assistant coach, both teams, coach, assistant coach, right? So there's 4 people. Then we got coaches and assistant coaches coming off the field. We got the referee coming off the field. All of a sudden, they pull us into a big huddle. We now have a 9-person huddle in the center of the soccer field. And we're talking about poop. And the referee with the whistle says, "Hey, don't worry. Listen, these are little kids. It's a big field. If the ball starts to go over that direction, I'll blow the whistle. We'll stop the play. We'll bring the ball back over the other side of the field and we'll continue to play." He said, "It's been working all morning." I'm thinking all morning. So as we're having this discussion about changing the rules to compensate for a pile of poop, I watch Coach Coleman. He doesn't say anything. He's a classy act. He steps out of the huddle. I see him walking towards a trash can on the corner of the field. I follow his example. I step out. I walk towards a different trash can. We find a piece of cardboard and a stick. And within 90 seconds, we've cleaned up this pile of poop. At which point, a parent of the departing team said, "Yeah, hey, somebody really needed to do that. Good job." He said this. And I was like, I'm not classy like Coach Coleman. So I said, "And it couldn't have been you," kind of hoping my disgust would be manifest in my voice. And then we played for the next hour. We played a wonderful game of soccer and nobody worried about, "Oh no, it's going towards the bag." We just played the game. We played. The next morning I woke up, and I think we probably all had some experience where something happened the day before or whatever, and we woke up thinking about it. Our brains just surging with all the things that we could have said, just replaying the scenario. And I woke up going, I can't believe that for a couple hours, all these children watched all these adults do all this pointing and complaining and showing disgust, but taking no initiative to actually fix it, to make it better. So I tried to describe that story as best I could in an email that I sent off to 1,000, 1,500 people at the time. That was it. I just wanted to clear my soul of this story, this emotional thing that I had in my brain. I just wanted to get it out so it would go away. But what happened next really blew me away. So what happened next was this email became viral in its own way. People began to share it with their friends, and it began to be read in corporate team meetings. One of the first 5 emails I got about the story was, "Hey, Kirk, we read your story at our staff meeting today," from the Pentagon. Pentagon? The heck? And then from this hotel chain and from this headquarters and from this group and from this team and from this hospital, they were reading, and they didn't have a pile of dog poop, but they had metaphorically, they had this thing in their organization that everybody knew was there, a broken process, a broken product, a broken personality conflict. And everyone pointed to it and everybody warned everyone about it, but no one actually did the work to make it go away. And it takes a lot less work to make it go away and to fix it than it does to complain about it for 3, 4, 5, 7 years. Some examples. Anyway, so eventually did a book about it with the encouragement of my brother, and that book you now hold, the Dog Poop Initiative. And a friend of mine said, "Kirk, when you write a book about anything, you're going to learn things about it you never knew." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well." And soon I found myself on a radio show, which, what am I doing on a radio show, right? So I'm on a radio show. The disc jockeys have discovered my book, and one of them said it changed the way that they were interacting with their kids when their kids made messes. The kids said, "God, Dad, you read us that book, but you're the biggest pointer in the family." And so they were going to laugh and tell some stories, and I was supposed to be on the show 5 or 10 minutes. And they were going to tell the story, give away a couple books, and great experience for all of us. So I was excited about that. But the phones lit up after I told the story, basically that I just told here for you and for Hip Realty. And the phones lit up and they said, "Kirk, would you stay after a few more minutes and just let's take some of these phone calls and see what people have to say about initiative and what they think about the story that you're telling?" And I said, "Sure, great." Well, ended up staying for like 27 minutes. We took call after call after call. And the people that got on the phone with the disc jockeys, they were so energized and they told their own individual stories, but there was a theme. And the theme wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought the theme would be, the reason people don't take initiative is because they didn't make the mess. It's not their fault. It wasn't their dog. It's not their pile of poop. I thought that was the number one reason people didn't take initiative. But what I learned from all these callers was that wasn't the number one reason. The number one reason people don't take initiative. Well, let me illustrate. Here's a story that one gal shared on this radio show that was illustrative of the theme of all the calls that day. She described leaving work with her coworkers, 2 carloads of coworkers, so 7 or 8 coworkers. They all go to lunch. Now they're all coming back. They're walking into their corporate building on this beautiful sidewalk, on this beautiful campus. And by both sides of the doors going into the building, there's 2 large trash cans. But this girl describes walking. She's about 20 yards from the door. They're halfway from the parking lot to the building. She sees over in the grass, 10 steps off the sidewalk, one of those great big styrofoam big gulp cups from Circle K or whatever. It's broken, it's crushed, it's dirty, but it's laying there. And she says some of her coworkers are ahead of her. She steps off the sidewalk. Her thought is, "I'm going to pick this up. I'll drop it in the trash can on my way in." That was what her heart, her instinct, that was her visceral reaction. That was what she was programmed, she said, to do. As she took 3 steps towards the cup, a couple other coworkers saw what she was doing and said, "Don't do that. You don't know where it's been. Don't touch that." They actually shamed her out of it. And she said on the call, on this radio show, she said, "And I allowed myself to be shamed." She said, "I went in thinking, yeah, I went in thinking, well, but it bothered me." She said, "And the more I thought about it, the more I realized my coworkers didn't actually care whether I got germs or got my hands dirty. What was their real motivation? Why didn't they want her, their coworker, to pick up the cup?" And you already know the answer, don't you? It was because if she picked up the cup when they didn't, she would make them look bad. They shamed her out of taking the initiative, of doing what she felt her integrity invited and inspired and required her to do, they shamed her out of it because if she did that, it would illustrate what they didn't do. In other words, they'd all had a very similar feeling and impression, but they chose not to. They chose to be lazy. They chose to try to look the other way. They tried to avoid responsibility. And every time we try to do something, every time we violate our integrity, it dims us down a little bit. We lose confidence in ourselves. But every time we take initiative, we build confidence in ourselves. Not only that, we can inspire confidence and initiative in others. The biggest thing holding us back is us. But the moment we see something that needs to be done and do it without being asked or directed, that's initiative. That's a moment of leadership. That's a moment of life. That's a moment of integrity. That's a moment that moves the world forward and makes the field of life a better place for all the rest to work and play. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the book. The number one buyer of this book is Boeing Aircraft. I hope that makes you feel better when you fly. But I've been inspired and impressed by the stories and the things I've learned about initiative since writing this book and having this experience. I hope you will find places to use this book in your family culture, your community culture. I even had friends say, hey, the preacher just read your book from the pulpit. One Sunday, I got a call. And you'll find a meaningful, clever way to use this book to inspire your teams, inspire more initiative in our world. We certainly can use it. So thank you to you for listening, and thank HIP Realty for caring enough about their people to establish a culture with their team. And I would just invite you to consider establishing and building a relationship with HIP Realty. They do things differently. I would say they do things better. They take the initiative to do things like send you a gift package because they say, hey, we're not like everybody else. We can help. You look at the cover of this box and look at the words carefully and purposely chosen. They want to inspire some confidence. They want to give you hope that you can have a real estate transaction that you feel good about, that they'll see through to completion, that someone will go the extra mile to. And when you open that box, it says, hey, call me, we can help. And they can. And I promise you that they will. In the meantime, make it a great day. It's your choice.